the filings made in the courtroom.
Joining me now is Texas Congressman Pat Fallon. He's a member of the House Oversight and Armed Services Committee. Congressman, good to see you this morning. Thanks for being here. How do you read all of this?
Apparently, Maria, that it's illegal to have an opinion in America today. That sounded, the special counsel sounded like just an elected Democratic hack, quite frankly. And when I read the indictment, I could not believe what I was reading. This was so they know President Trump's mind. And that I didn't know they were mind readers because they kept saying he knowingly knew that his claims were false. I truly believe President Trump feels in his heart that there was election shenanigans that that went on in certain states that cost him the presidency. So that's a genuine belief he has, and now that's a criminal in this country. I mean, this is like 1984. Call George Orwell.
It's pretty extraordinary, and the timing of it is also so extraordinary. All of these indictments have been called into question because they come right after massive evidence is released about the Biden family. On June 7th, the FBI released documents alleging that the Bidens took in $10 million, a bribe from Burisma. The very next day, Jack Smith indicted Trump over the classified documents kept at Mar-a-Lago. And then you go to July 26th. That's when Hunter Biden's plea deal fell apart after the DOJ tried giving him blanket immunity from any future prosecutions. The very next day, Jack Smith added more charges to the Mar-a-Lago case. And now just one day after Devin Archer gave explosive testimony about Joe Biden's involvement in Hunter Biden's business deals, Smith indicts Trump for January 6th, Congressman. Is this all related?
Wow. It's do you believe in coincidences, or is this deliberate? Because it certainly seems like it. They want distractions, and they don't want. A lot of the mainstream media has completely ignored the Biden family corruption. They don't want it reported because if the average American had an open mind and knew the things that we have uncovered, the preponderance of the evidence clearly shows that Joe Biden was involved and Hunter Biden was his bagman, and they were involved in criminal activity. I mean, because Maria, just answer me this question: what business, the business of the Bidens, what service did they provide? What goods did they sell? Nobody can answer that question for me, and yet they received tens of millions of dollars. I find that very interesting.
So are you going to endorse then starting an impeachment inquiry? I mean, what are you waiting for?
Oh, I'm complete. I think we should have done that yesterday. I mean, we should have done that a couple of weeks ago because that expands our ability to investigate further. And in a historical context, look at Watergate. It happened in June of 1972, and President Nixon didn't resign until August of 74. So it took 26 months. We've really only been at this, Maria, for 7 months because that's how long we've had subpoena power in the majority.
Yeah.
So, and what we've uncovered thus far possibly may make Watergate looked like a jaywalking ticket.
So let's talk about what you've uncovered so far. Hunter Biden's former business partner, Devin Archer, testified to your colleagues, telling lawmakers that Joe Biden spoke with Hunter Biden's business partners about more than 20 times. And then in 2015, Hunter Biden and Burisma executives asked the Obama administration to help fire a Ukrainian prosecutor who was investigating the firm. New York Congressman Dan Goldman dismissed Archer's testimony. He claimed Joe Biden joined those phone calls to talk about the weather. Watch this.
Yeah.
It was all casual conversation, niceties, the weather, what's going on. There wasn't a single conversation about any of the business dealings that Hunter had.
Is he serious, Congressman? Do you think he believes that?
That's remarkable that he would even say something like that, because let's look at the facts, Maria, that in September of 2015, Jeffrey Pyatt, the American ambassador to Ukraine, gave a speech about corruption and named Zlochevsky, who was running Burisma at the time. He named him specifically. And that's how dangerous he was. But then in December, Hunter, who's on the board of Burisma with Zlochevsky asked him to call his dad, which he does, and says, "Dad," and Hunter says to him, "Dad, they need our support." Then Joe Biden flies to Ukraine 3 days later and withholds $1 billion worth of aid unless the prosecutor, Victor Shokin, is fired. Shokin had seized 4 homes of Zlochevsky's, 2 plots of land, and a Rolls Royce. And yet, a month later, in March of 16, he's fired. And then the $1 billion is released. You tell me that's not pay to play.
Well, I mean, it's even more than that, though. I mean, how is it possible that your colleagues on the left, your Democrat colleagues, are ignoring the money that we're seeing in black and white that Joe Biden and Hunter Biden accepted from the Burisma owner, from China? I mean, I think the American people are getting frustrated about the fact that you all have all of this evidence and you're still having a debate about launching an inquiry into impeachment.
Oh, I agree with you fully. We should have an impeachment inquiry immediately. In fact, Maria, if we were talking about this 6 months ago, I could have told you for sure that we could prove $1 million in payments from foreign nationals to the Biden family. Now it's $27 million. And it's probably closer to 50 to 100 million. And if the Bidens didn't do anything wrong, why don't they cooperate with the investigation, show your bank records, share geolocation? Because, like, for instance, with the WhatsApp email or message in 2017, where Hunter says when he's shaking down somebody in China, I'm sitting right here with my dad. He's vengeful. You better pay up. Yeah. Well, we could figure out if Joe Biden was in the room, but they're not. I think it's very telling that they're not cooperating. They're fighting us at every turn.
Where does this number, $50 million up to $100 million, come from? What are you basing that on? How do we know how much money they've taken in?
Yeah, well, we don't. We know that it's at least $27 million because in the trends. We had no idea 6 months ago. We thought it was about $1 million. Now I can show you that it's $27 million. And we haven't even subpoenaed their bank records. We're just talking about a few of their associates that we've got our hands on. And you got 170 suspicious activity reports out there as well. And so, when Goldman talks about they were just talking about the weather and things like that, I think they were smart enough not to be that stupid to openly talk about it with other people.
But this is an elected official. Todd, jump in here. Dan Goldman is an elected official. He had the nerve to go in front of cameras yesterday and say, oh, yeah, all of the business associates were there doing a meeting, but Joe Biden decided to call at that time to just talk about casual things like the weather.
Maria, now Dan is an elected official, but his previous job was as a bulldog litigator propagating Democratic causes and Democratic ideals.
Bingo.
And so once you are that person, you cannot shake that person. That is what the Democratic Party is using him for. He can go out there as a lawyer and try to spin things. That said, why did you go the weather route? That makes you look like an idiot. And obviously, we're attacking him today for it. But don't be surprised. This isn't the beginning. It's not the end. Dan Goldman is going to be their bulldog from this point forward, even though the evidence, the weight of the evidence, is so firmly against Hunter Biden and Joe Biden.
Unbelievable. Congressman, final word.
Well, you know what, Maria, I wish that just justice was blind, not the Democrats and the legacy media. It's unfortunate, but the facts will, the facts will prevail.
Have you identified specific decisions that Joe Biden made as vice president to warrant him getting paid?
I think that the Burisma withholding $1 billion from Ukraine until Viktor Shokin was fired is just that smoking gun, because that did happen. And Shokin got fired. And by the way, Maria, Burisma was never investigated again since 2016. Right. For the last 7 years, they never looked at it again.
And I believe Joe Biden was caught on a hot mic saying nobody F's with a Biden after all of that took place. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks very much. Pat Fallon joining us.